Hey everybody, Ryan here at eTrailer. Today we're going to be checking out the Redarc Tow Pro Liberty Trailer Brake Controller, which comes included with the universal wiring harness. When it comes to picking out a brake controller, there's a lot of them out on the market, and trying to figure out what one is going to work best for you can get a little overwhelming, and we do a lot of these trailer brake controllers here, and from my experience I found that the Liberty is one of my favorites for a few different reasons we'll get into in a minute, but this is going to work in a lot of situations for a lot of your general purpose, kind of all around towing needs. If you plan on pulling a trailer around that has electric brakes or even over electric hydraulic brakes, that's where a trailer brake controller like the Liberty is going to come into play, right? Whenever you hit the brakes in your vehicle, it'll apply the trailer's brakes and bring you to a more predictable and safe stop. And compared to a lot of the other ones out there, one of my favorite things about the Liberty is going to be the appearance, or how it looks. If you kind of line this up side by side with some of the other ones, it kind of is in a league of its own, right? It don't really resemble them that much. And that's because with the Liberty, this box, or the main body of it, that can get mounted pretty much in any orientation that you want, and you can put it up under the dash, out of sight and out of mind, and then all you're going to have to see inside of your vehicle is this knob here, and that's how you're going to control the brake controller and be able to make your adjustments. Even when it comes to picking out a spot to mount up the control knob, you're going to have a ton of different options. This is going to pretty much hold true regardless on what type of vehicle you have. The switch here where the knob's going to connect to, as long as that fits behind whatever panel or whatever area you're going to be mounting this up, you'll be in good shape, which I think is huge, especially in today's age. A lot of these more late model vehicles don't have a lot of room on the dash. There's just a lot of stuff going on. Our vehicle today, it's a Chevy Colorado, kind of an exception. There's a little bit of space to work with here, but even then I still think the Liberty looks great in here. You hardly notice it, looks factory almost. And that's compared to one of the more traditional style brake controllers, right? There's a lot of them available that you see that look similar to this. So imagine if you don't have a whole lot of space to begin with, trying to mount up something like this, it's not the best looking, at least in my opinion, and takes up space. And, I've run into some vehicles before where you really can't even get one of these to mount up just because there's airbags behind here, or other situations like that you might run into. On some vehicles, I know a lot of Toyotas, I believe some Nissans, quite a few vehicles out there, they'll have little knockout panels, right? So let's say from the factory, you might have some buttons to control stuff, and a lot of times you'll have an open one. And Redarc offers quite a few of these little inserts, which is really cool. If you have that option on your vehicle, you might want to look into this, because you can replace that empty knockout panel from the factory with this and be able to mount up the knob right into here. Tow Pro Liberty is going to work with trailers that have up to 2 axles. If you're pulling one that is a triple axle, you might want to look into the Redarc Tow Pro Elite. Very similar to the Liberty, just has a few more features and capabilities, so that's always an option for you. And this is going to be a proportional type brake controller, which is what I recommend 99% of the time, with the exception of a few more specific scenarios. But what that word means is however hard you hit the brakes in your vehicle, the trailer brakes are going to match it. So for example, if I'm halfway on the brake pedal, trailer's going to do the same thing. On the other hand, if maybe I got to come to an emergency stop and I got to really stand on the brake, the trailer brakes are going to match that pressure. And so it just makes for a much more smooth braking experience. You're not going to feel the trailer try to push you around, or have it feel like the vehicle is going to be dragging the trailer. Just stops as one whole cohesive unit. You are going to be able to make you know, some adjustments here. So your knob, you can dial that all the way up to 10 and all the way down to nothing there. And what that's going to do is change the brake force, and you can tune that in on the fly if you need to. A lot of times it's good to start somewhere in the middle, you know, that 5, kind of go from there. But where this will come, you know, be useful, let's say maybe you're pulling your trailer, it's empty. Probably don't need a whole lot of braking force, right? So you might dial that down to 2 or 3, something like that. On the other hand, you get to where you're going, get it all loaded up, now it's super heavy, probably need a little extra help. So you can ramp that up to 7 or 8 or just about anything in between. Whenever you need to apply just the trailer's brakes, the way to operate the manual override is simply just by pushing down on this button. And when you do that, it'll apply just the trailer's brakes, and a lot of times you would use that in the event of a sway situation. The trailer kind of starts to get away from you a little bit. You can push that in and slow things down, get it straightened back out. Ideally, you'd want to ramp the power up if you can. And there's an LED in there too. Might be a little tricky to see today, it's so bright outside, but that LED is an indicator of your braking force too. Just to give you an example, I'm at a 1 here, and the more braking force as you turn it, the light will go from a bluish, pink, purplish almost, more to a dark red the higher you go. So you have a visual indicator there as well. This does have a pretty neat feature on it known as the park brake feature. And what this is going to do is help to prolong the life of your trailer's braking components. So let's say if you're at a stoplight or something, and if you're on your brakes for longer than 3 seconds, the brake controller will recognize that and change, if needed, the braking pressure going to the trailer's brakes in an intelligent manner to figure out if you need braking pressure or not. Because it don't make sense if you're, you know, at a stoplight and your vehicle can hold the trailer from rolling just fine. It don't make sense to have the trailer's brakes applied as well, tearing them up and stuff. So it's the little things like that that really help to kind of separate this controller from some of the other ones out there. There are a couple variations of the Liberty brake controller. One that comes included with the universal connector plug, like we're checking out today, and then a version where it's not going to come included with the universal plug. And depending on your particular application, one kit might be more suited for your vehicle than the other. And I'll try to help you figure that out, give you some insight. So for example, the one that we're looking at that has a universal wiring with it would be great for those of you that might have a tow package kind of pre-ran right from the factory. Perfect example today, we have a Chevrolet Colorado, and they have brake controller wiring from the factory up on the driver's side behind the kick panel, and it's just, the wires are bare, right? So you need to hook up to them. And so with the universal wiring kit, we can use our butt connectors, grab butt connectors, put them on here, crimp it to the factory wiring, and we're all set. Another good example where the universal wiring would come into play would be if you're kind of starting from scratch, right? Some vehicles don't have any factory tow package options or anything along those lines. And if you were to use the eTrailer Universal Brake Controller Install Kit in conjunction with this, and you're going to need a 4-way flat wiring connector to kind of build off of, you know, that Universal Brake Controller Install Kit that we carry here at eTrailer. You could hook up this connector to it, get everything going. And some examples of vehicles that I see quite a bit, a lot of Toyota Highlanders we set up are like that, where you need this, the Universal Brake Controller Install Kit, the 4-way flat wiring. Some Jeeps are set up that way. With Jeeps, they're it seems like they're all kind of made a little bit different. One might have a factory tow package, one might not. Some are kind of in between. And we also see a lot of Hyundai Palisades, Kia Tellurides, things like that, okay? And then on the other hand, if your vehicle is equipped with a factory tow package, some of them will have a plug under the dash that's ready for you to utilize and plug right into to get that brake controller going. That's where, you know, if your vehicle is set up like that, that's where you'd want to get the Liberty that does not come included with the universal connector. And I say it because chances are pretty good, especially if you have more of a late model vehicle, that Redarc will make a custom fit plug and play type harness, right? So for example, the one I have here is for a handful of different late model Hondas. But what it'll do, you know, it'll plug in, and then the other end will be custom fit to that factory connector plug this thing right into it and get your power and all your signals to your brake controller. Other than that, at the end of the day, this is an awesome trailer brake controller. It's one of my favorites. Like I said, we do a ton of them here and never run into any issues, you know. So if you're looking for a simple, easy to use, reliable trailer brake controller that's gonna look good as well, this is definitely one to consider.